Alright, I'm going to do my best Doug DeMuro here. This is a 1979 Cadillac Seville. Not just any Seville. This is the Elegante. This is actually my grandmother's car. It was restored, I think, don't mind all my garbage, it was restored in 1988 or 89. It still looks pretty good after all those years. It's a custom paint job done by my Uncle Jim, who tends to restore classic Camaros 67 to 69 mostly. Those wheels are not stock. My uncle likes to put huge sidewalls on things. I actually really like the look of it. It's also his custom, I don't know what he calls this, cherry black paint, and I doubt you'll see it. But essentially in the shadows it looks straight black, and in the sun it's got a purple tint to it. And I doubt you'll see it, but it is beautiful. It is, 30 years old or so now, so it's got a few spots where the clears come off and it needs to be redone, but all in all, pretty damn good. The wire wheels, I've got to say, they're beautiful, but they're a nightmare to clean. I just had this out washing it. My grandmother doesn't, she's 89. She doesn't get to drive much anymore. Well, at all. So we try to get it cleaned up and take her out in the summer as much as we can, but it's time to go away to storage. Oddly enough, this car really wasn't anything special. It doesn't have the traditional long fins or anything like that, or even the body style of like the late 70s or early 80s of most Cadillacs. It was always kind of a square, kind of ugly duckling. But I kind of like that. It's just sort of an well, it's hard to call it unassuming when it looks like this, but it was never the fanciest, the top of the line or anything, but it's just a beautiful car. I love it mostly because it is so plain. It still has a fair amount of chrome and accoutrement, but nothing too absurd. Old school dual headlights at the front, nice big grille. And the Cadillac emblem before, they got all chunky and dumbed it down and made it huge. A couple of things, I'll do a quick, what does he say, some quirks and features of this car, but I won't take it for a drive or give it a Doug score or anything like that. I can only rip them off so much. Sorry, Doug. But I love this car. My grandmother drove this for a long time. My mother drove this for a long time. Mostly now I take it out to wash it and drive them around. That's really about it at this point. Hopefully we'll get more out at some point. But what I love about this is, not only was it my grandmother's car, but it was rebuilt by my uncle, painted, all the bodywork, even some nice little touches like the stainless steel mud flaps with the Cadillac emblem on it. It needs new tires, obviously. You can see they're cracking. I did an awful job cleaning them. That stuff really didn't work very well. Needs some work on the wheels as well. But I mean, those tires are 30 years old, so I'm sure they're hard and awful and cracking. A couple of things I'll show you briefly here. I do like these emblems, the insignia on the taillights though. These things here, I don't know if you remember these. There wasn't on a whole lot of cars, but it's actually like a fiber optic line that goes there. These are headlight indicators or taillight indicators. Sorry, these are the headlight indicators. So when you turn the lights on in the car, you'll see the corresponding light will pop up on one of these. I'll turn them on in a moment, but it'll also show a signal when you're turning, or you have your four-ways on, your hazards. They'll also flash to let you know they're working or they're not working. Of course, the old school powered antenna, which goes up when you turn the radio on and back down when you shut it off. Chrome moldings, typical. You don't see many pinstripes anymore, and I don't know why. I really like that red pinstripe on this. I just think it really works nicely. Something else, obviously, just these little guards. The grocery cart guards, or whatever you want to call them. So obviously no remote lock or unlock on this. But the car really is fairly simple, but really nice. You don't see this anymore, but custom built Cadillac by Fisher Body. All the old GMs in the 70s, and I think up to the early 80s had that. Fisher goes way, way back. If you ever want to look into it, it's pretty neat. So inside here, I mean, I love this. I don't know, I want this in my bed. I want that everywhere. Really nice perforated leather. The wood paneling, of course, power everything there. Well, everything that you could get powered at the time. It's really nice. I mean, giant thin steering wheel, which I miss so much. Old school column shifter. So I mean, inside, you can kind of see in the sun here, it might work out. Up here, you've got your fuel gauge here, but all this bar, and I guess in 79 this was probably pretty cool. These are all your warning lights and different things up here. So you can see there a security system, there's a fasten seatbelt sign, a temperature warning, brakes, oil pressure, coolant. All your lights are up there. But it is nice, you don't actually see it until they're on, and it just flows in nicely with the other side. Of course, you do get the hard plastic sort of vinyl dash from back in the day, which I don't think anybody really misses. Which is weird, because then when you go to the side, sorry about the sun and the seats, it's really nice leather, perforated, soft, really nice stuff. So on your door panels, lock, window lock, power windows everywhere, the old handle. Your seat controls here, locks, and I do like this. I don't know why you'd use this, but you can do that manually as well. And of course this for moving your mirror. Kind of interesting on this one, which I don't know if I've seen it on any other GM car. This windshield washer and wiper system, it's strange. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. It's weird, just this little L with the the squirt button. Kind of odd. Climate control is to the left. So you got this nice wheelie, heat, AC, your cruise control switch, your headlights with the Twilight Sentinel they used to call it, so you could set that and it'd leave the lights on for a small period of time after you shut the car off. And man, I miss this old GM, just simple setting. Anyway, so down here, and something interesting I should point out, of course pardon the wires, but down here, to the left of your pedals here, old school high beam switch. So you would hit that. Sorry, my boots, I'm working. That's how you would hit the high beams on and off, which I love doing. It always takes a little while to remember it when you first get in the car. So your gauge cluster is pretty simple. This is a Canadian car, obviously. The 140 Max. A lot of these cars, even up into the late 80s GM, for whatever reason, even though they go well above 140, maybe they're trying to tell you probably shouldn't go above 140, but I mean, it was always just a question, every car you got, like how far past the 140 your needle would get buried. Strange. This car's got 25,000 kilometers on it, which I actually believe that is accurate. There really doesn't get a lot of mileage, this car. You've got your giant turn signals there, indicators. I really like this. One thing in these GMs that I find that I don't miss at all is the turn stock, like the indicator stock here. So you got your cruise control stuff on it here, your set button, the coast, accelerate, and so on. But the turn signal, every time you turn them, you feel like you're braking something. It makes this loud click, and it's... And I never noticed it, and I never thought it was odd until I started driving, Japanese cars, German cars. And then every time I get back in an old American car, I think, wow, that's really awful. It's not good. This button, of course, just to reset your trip meter, but you don't even notice it for the most of the time. We do have tilt, and it is telescopic as well. There's a button underneath here. There is a button under the steering wheel that will pull the steering wheel out as well. So moving over a little bit here, I do like the simplicity, just rear defog, on, off. Then there's the passenger side mirror there. Now I do have the original stereo for this. I think it was like 89 or so, maybe 90, when my uncle rebuilt this car. And at the time, CDs were brand new, so he put an Alpine CD player in here with some speakers. It works, it's fine, but I think I'm going to switch back and put the original stereo in there just to make it look a little bit more stock. And of course, very important in 79 in a Cadillac, a big ashtray with the lighter, of course. A nice big glove box over here. And that's really about it. You do, of course, have a nice vanity mirror with lights. And I know that's not exciting now, but in 79, these were little things that a lot of vehicles didn't have. The nice handles and so on. Of course, map lights with your interior lights up here as well. I want to point out the seat belts, because if you grew up in these cars like I did, like in old GM stuff in late 70s, early 80s and so on, these ubiquitous metal seat belt receptacles, I love them, I hate them. It's awful in the summer when you sit on them. I've burned my ass a number of times on these things, but they do make a satisfying click when you put them in, and I just find you don't get that with the newer models. I'm going to try to do it just so you can hear it. I know it's not exciting to anybody but myself, but I'm easily amused. It's satisfying. We have a nice push button here. Open this up, and of course this would be for a busy executive. You put a notepad here, your pen, of course, this clips down. And then, of course, you could flip that up. I'm not sure, just pretty and more. I believe these slots, I'm trying to think. I don't know if those are for cassettes. I'd have to check that out. I don't know. They look too big for cassettes, but I think we were beyond 8 tracks at this point. I don't have any 8 tracks to see if they fit, but maybe I might have to look that up. Right. And then, of course, armrest, and then another one, little storage department there for you. There is, of course, a good amount of room in the back, a lot of headroom, which I really like. I'm 6'4", and I've had a lot of cars. Even I had an S-Class, an S500, that no matter what, you can't, unless you sit in a really weird tilted back position, your head's constantly hitting the top. I've had that in a couple Audis, Volkswagens, some Chevys, but not in this. Even in the back seat, I've got tons of headroom. Nice storage back here. The only other thing really of interest, you do have the map light at the back here for the passengers. And much like on the front hood, these are little indicators for your rear lights. So when you press the brake or turn your lights on or signal, those would light up to show you exactly what was happening. So it's kind of pointless, but it's kind of nice on occasion, at least in an older car. I know whether my tail lights are working, whether my signal lights are working. But hey, just kind of a weird thing. They've done away with that, of course. But it's a nice place to be back here. It's comfortable, it smells nice, the leather's good. Another thing to mention in the realm of satisfying noises, I don't know if this will work out at all, but when you pull the hood latch, the hood release, listen to this. Now that's probably due to the fact that the hood is about 8 feet long by 5 feet wide. It is massive, and well, with good reason, as we will see. Now you can tell I haven't cleaned under the hood yet. You know, what can I say? I'm lazy, and it's getting cold out. That'll be tomorrow's job. But just to give you a sense of just how much is going on under here, everything's big. And in 1979, well, GM wasn't too much worried about size, at the very least. Of course, you did get stuck with all the emissions problems typical to cars of these of this era. Of course, you got the nice catalyst sticker. That was new technology back then, right? But yeah, this will clean up really nicely, actually. It looks pretty good. Now, for the trunk, most Cadillacs of this era have these annoying fobs. Now, this is kind of nice. It slides over. And the problem I have with all of these is you put the key in, and as soon as you turn it, it unlocks this thing. It always jams shut on you, which drives me insane. Like, every time. So then you have to sort of pull the key out. It's like it almost works really good, but not quite. Anyway, as you can tell, I've got all my cleaning stuff in here. I'm not about to, I'm not about to clean out the trunk just to show you an empty trunk. But, as you can see, it's ample. I've got a charger in here. There's an original, it's a spare climate control unit. Jumper cables, vacuum, all my cleaning stuff. Old school jack back there, which, I don't know. I'd have to remember how to use it. It's been a long, long time. Spare tire, all nice and cozy and some fuzzy stuff. And you can't see with all this crap. I got rat poison and everything. Nice rubber mat down there. And there's the service manual. Check that out. 1979. Anyway, of course, valve cover gasket. Usual stuff. Another thing I should point out while we're at the trunk is their, well, it's not soft close, I don't know what you call it. Almost an auto close, which I think all the Caddies from this era had, all the ones I remember anyway. But I just mostly remember because my mom would always be terrified that I was going to lose a hand or something. Oh, and also, don't slam it, don't slam the trunk, no matter what. Like 10 years after, you know, having the car every single time. Don't slam the trunk. So yeah, push it down. Anyway, it was really cool when I was 12. So how does it drive? Well, I'm not going to get into that. It really, I mean, look, it drives like a late 70s, early 80s Cadillac, or any sort of big rear-wheel drive GM from that time period. It's super comfortable. It's super floaty and light. You sort of hover all over the road. You absorb bumps and railroad tracks and you name it. And I know everyone got away from this and really started hating this, and everyone was like, oh, the German cars are so much better and the Japanese cars are so much better. And in some ways they were. But let's remember where these cars were built for and what they were built for. They were built for the highways. They were built for the interstates. And I drive, or I did drive anyway, at least once or twice a year down to Florida and back, either taking my grandparents there or back. And if you have to spend 9 or 10 hours on the I-95, I don't think there's a better car to do it in than something like this, especially from this era. So that's really about it. 1979 Cadillac Seville. My grandma's. Nothing too crazy even for the time, but I absolutely love the car. I especially love it because, well, the family history really. But I do think it's a beautiful car. Simple. Elegant, I would say. Actually, I wouldn't say. I would say elegante.